Right, so we're up in the loft here. Now on the wood green project. I didn't get any footage of us doing this joist in here because it's a bit awkward. For that, I did post a couple of bits on Instagram. But anyway, so we're now going to be pitching up the roofs of plots 1, 2 and 3. So we're following the line of that. It's a 31-degree pitch, the neighbouring party wall there. So yeah, up and over roof on this one, which is plot 1, plot 2, then over there that's plot 3, and that's a hipped end, so coming back to a ridge. Yeah, so we've got 6x2 rafters in these two, and 8x2 in plot 3 with 10x2 hips, doubles. And we've got 2 gable roofs over there, which are going to be vaulted ceilings for plots 2 and 3 on the first floor. So yeah, the first port of call, what we're going to be doing is building the ashlar support walls up. We've got one along here, sitting on the steels, and then one just run along here. So yeah, what we're going to do, as I say, build them up, offer up a pattern, make sure we've got an equal upstand for the parapet on the neighbouring side. The blockwork isn't up to the correct level we need it to be yet to bear our bird's mouth on that first floor level. So as I say, we're going to bird's mouth them onto these ashlar walls up here, which are going to be braced back, and then we can cut the bird's mouth down there for them to then bring up the wall plate and bed it on for that. So yeah, I'll do a time lapse of us building the walls, bracing them up, and then another video on us getting the patterns in. So, what we've got our first pair of commons, we've got a plate up, and how we work this, it was a little bit tricky because the only dating point we had on the drawings was the height of this wall over here. So what we did is we built that, we've braced it with diagonally as well to stop it racking, so that's all plumb and level. We've got a double top plate, it's low bearing wall, ashlar support wall. So then what we did, so I cut a template dummy rafter foot. This is a third of the 6x2 timber that we're using. Used a protractor on the plans to get the pitch, and then also cross-reference held the timber up parallel with the neighbouring roof line of the party wall. Plumbed a pencil mark down at 31 degrees, cross-reference from the plan, and it was the same. So that's how we got that. So we then knew the pitch, we had the height of this wall. I then measured from outside of brick to outside of brick, found a centre line, and marked it on this brick wall and plumbed it up. So then measured from the back of this wall to that centre line, and the cosine of 31, divided that half span by that. That gave us a length from point of the apex to the back of the plumb cut. Then we've got this rafter up, made sure that plumb mark was on the centre line. Obviously we haven't deducted for a ridge or anything at this point. And then put this temporary prop in here with this 4x2 screwed, so it held it at 31 degrees. And then for this side over here, just cut a plumb cut on the top of the rafter, and this wall is shorter because the steel that it's sat on is further out than that side. So yeah, plumb cut at the top, fixed it up there, marked a 31 degree pencil mark on the rafter, and then held a level and lifted it up until it was plumb, then fixed it and put a prop in, a temporary prop in, which we've got down here, which again held it at 31 degrees. So we know that both of these are 31. We've got a parallel upstand on the party wall to match that. And then to get the height of the wall, all we did is transferred the line of the back of the plate onto the block work, plumbed up, as you can see here, and then used our template to mark the actual bird's mouth which is a third again of the 6x2, and then leveled across this point, measured down from the level to the top of our wall, deducted 90mm, which is 2 wall plates, and that gave us a stud of 911mm. So that's how we've set this, and now we've painted these walls so we can cut all the rafters the same, which is handy. And we need to obviously deduct half the thickness of the ridge from both of those at the top, and there is actually a steel going to be sitting at the ridge point there, so we've got a bird's mouth to do, so we can fix a plate underneath, and that plate will then sit on the beam. So I'll do a time lapse of us cutting all the rafters now.
Splice original.
So, got all the common rafters in now, as you can see. We've got our notches out at the top. That's ready to receive a 6x2 wall plate underneath, and then we've got a steel beam in plots 1 and 2 to support the apex of the roof. So it would have been fine in timber, but it's on the plan, so we've obviously got to follow that. When these party walls are built up, we're going to do a 150 cut out of the ridge between each plot, so there's no fire bridging. We've got these temporary braces hex head screwed underneath, which stops the roof from racking. If we didn't have them in, it's quite windy. There is the risk that they could topple over. So yes, hex head screwed in, they're easily to remove. Yeah, so I'll just show you in. We've formed all the Velux openings in the width, as you can see where the doubles are. We've put a rafter in the centre between. There's 780 by 980 roof lights or Velux windows. So what we can do is, when we know or figure out the position of them up the roof, because some are up, some are down, we can just cut the centre of that rafter out, and we've got that rafter top and bottom of the trimmer. So yeah, all grossed up. So both sides. So nice little temporary benches, cut a few rafters in as well. So I was cutting over here, sending the rafters to Patrick, who was then answering the bird gloves out. So nice little system, getting them all cut. Yeah, it's been a bit of a backward way of setting up the actual cutting off route, because typically you would start with the outer wall plates on the internal skin of blockwork, but that isn't up on the lower level. So we've had to just pitch them off the ashlar support walls, and we've got to do another bird's mouth out there eventually once that wall comes up. It's worked out well, because it means we've built these walls nice and parallel and plumb. All the rafters are exactly the same lengths. We've just had a pattern, cut them all, and yeah, tomorrow we're going to be forming this hip 10 here. So 2 10x2 hips coming off the ridge there, and all those rafters are actually 8x2s. Yeah, then we've got the gables over there. So we've got the hips in now. I didn't actually get footage of this section because it was a little bit tricky. So what we did is we backed the hips. As you can see, I've got a backing bevel. So this planes in with this section of the roof, that'll plane in with the front. The front block work's not up at the moment, so yeah, we've got the crown rafter in, got the double hips in. We've cut the jacks here for this back flank. Haven't done it for the front. We can do the back now because we've got a small dwarf all over there, but I'll just show you over this section. So what we've got here is varying plate height. So as you can see, we've got this wall plate here, which we've strapped to the blockwork. And then we've got this lower plate here. So that's bearing on top of a 152 steel. And that planes in with that section of the roof. So yeah, a little bit tricky working all this out, but what I did is the height of this wall, I transferred that over there and did a level mark on that common rafter I've got there, you can see. Paralleled back off this lower dwarf wall to get the correct height above plates, plane in with the rest, and then match that here. So then what I did to get the length of these hips, rather than using mathematical calculations, because we haven't got all the plates on, in a scenario like this, rather than using the mathematics, in my opinion, it's better to measure, because you can physically see what you're doing, less chance for a mistake. So anyway, cut this block. This is the correct height above plate on this side, same on the other side. So what I did is, as long as this line here is touching this edge of the plate, which is the correct height above plate, I know that this is going to plane in with this section of roof. And then I squared a mark across over at this section. It's hard to show you now because we've got the hips in. Anyway, once this line lined up with the square mark, I know that that was going to plane in without. I can also eye it down and pull the string line as well, just to double check it, that was fine. So yeah, then we measured it, cut it, fit them, and then we've got there's a slightly different way of working out diminishes or increases of jack rafter length. So I'll show you how I work this one out. So if you come over here, Patrick, so what I did, I marked out my 400 centres working from my crown common rafter over there. And then if I measure this gap from where the hip intersects the wall plate to this point here, that's the short point, okay? So this measurement in question was, I think from memory, 265. So the secant or line length ratio of the roof, I know that a 31 degree pitch, what this is 1.16. I won't go into the calculation now. This is a bit long-winded. So anyway, if I times 265 by 1.16, gave me 301.7, I believe. So from the short point to the top of plumb cut, that's 301.7. And that worked. And you'd know if it was slightly out on the shortest jack because it will show discrepancy more so than on a longer one. But anyway, got the first one done, all nice and square, fits fine, correct height above plate. Now if I add the diminish, which is in this case 464 on a 31 degree pitch, so yeah, from the short point of the jacks, if I add 464 to every single one, I just increase that all the way up, and that's how I got the length of all the others. There is another way of doing it where you work from the top down, but in this instance I've worked from the bottom up. So what I'll do is I'll show us fitting these jacks now. Once we get them in, we're going to then get onto these gable roofs at the back here. Okay, so we're now pitching up these two gable sections at the rear of the properties here. So as you can see, we've got a pair up, 31 degrees is the pitch, same as this main. So we've got most of this in now. Hips are backed, we're back in bevel. Just got a bit of front section to do and the Velux windows to trim out. So yeah, this is going to be a vaulted ceiling in both of these. This is plot 3, that's plot 2 over there. So now we've got a pair pitched up here, meeting in the middle. We can calculate the height of this supporting stud wall that we're going to build off that steel RSJ there. Same at the other end over there. So we'll build that. We'll then cut a bird's mouth out the top of the rafters and they'll sit on top of that wall, which is then a load bearing point to allow for the vaulted ceiling. So yeah, I'll show a time lapse of us getting all that sorted and come back to you after. So we've got the main roof structure complete now. We didn't get as much footage as we would have liked, but it's quite difficult sometimes when you're just trying to, you know, focus on getting the job done. So we've just got broken it up into clips, and yeah, got as much as we can. So I'll just show you around the whole structure that we've done. Obviously, fascia and soffit is still to go around, all around the building. Got the straps on this, some parapet walls to come through the because there's 3 plots here. 1, 2, 3. So if you can see where those straps are, that's where the walls are going to come out, as the neighbouring wall is over there with some coping stones. So anyway, I'll just show you down this way. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Veluxes at the front, and then there is 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4 at the back. So we'll go around and have a look now. So yeah, this section is all in 8x2s with double 10x2 hips that we've back embeveled, but it works quite nicely with a double hip rafter, so the battens are full bearing when they come to the hip. A little bit more work in ripping it down, but you know, nicer job in my opinion. So yeah, if you want to look down that plane there, you can see it's all planing through nicely. The front brickwork is still not built up on the middle property because that's where we've been parking underneath. So yeah, that's going to have to be jacked up and temporarily sort of propped for the roofers to felt and batten before the middle house is built in, because it's a bit of a nightmare of parking around here, obviously being in London. So yeah, if we go around towards the back now. So we've got 2 gables at the back here. Yeah, so 2 gables. This is for plot 3. The second gable's in plot 2, and then it's just the main pitched roof in plot 1 over there. So we've done this detail here because yeah, everything's obviously bearing on steels. So we've got different varying wall plate heights. This one's obviously lower. We've got the higher one here where the block work is. Yeah, so this ply here will all be leaded. The brickwork needs toothing in there. And where the hip hasn't quite striked the corner here, that'll have to be like an undercloak tiled. The ridge tile will come here, and then probably a little bit of a lead detail. This couldn't be reduced too much further that way because of the brickwork. So that's why that sort of ended there as it has. I'll just show you around over here. So we've got a box gutter gully here, all plied. And then where this gap is there, where the straps are, that's going to be a parapet wall, as I say, coming through, separating the properties. So there will need to be a fire break. Obviously these roofs are connected at the minute with this boarding, but from the inside, well, we've noggin blocked at the bottom of these rafters. They're not connected at the bottom where the wall plate is, but there was no choice but to connect them where the boarding is, as in the ply. So that'll have to all be pink boarded by whoever's doing that inside. There's a pink sock, so to speak, fire cavity break within this area here. So yeah, I'll show you around the back bit as well. So the brickwork still isn't built up here. So these tails, so once the block work comes up, we'll have to bird's mouth these, put a wall plate on to sit on and then strap down to the internal block work. Again, this build was a little bit back to front in that we caught up way too much with the bricklayer. So we just carried on by working off the steels that we installed. So obviously the ashlar support walls, the bird's mouths, the rafters are all bird's mouthed on top. So the steel structure was nice and parallel that we installed. So we worked off that and then sort of we're working backwards. Typically you'd obviously have the wall plates bedded onto the block work, parallel from that and work from there. But yeah, it just sort of worked a little bit back to front here. So yeah, this bit's a little bit unfinished. Just got, as I say, bird's mouth, wall plate, once that's all built up. Fascia running all the way through. So yeah, that's this one all complete. So next we're going to be getting on to the internal first fix. So some stud work up here. There's some stud work on the first floor. 2 of the ground floor stud work walls, like partitions, have been complete. Staircases, subfloor, door linings, and that's the first fix package complete on this one. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.